Joseph's career held much promise. The defenseman's claim to fame in the NHL was pretty much relegated to that of being one of the players sent to Edmonton in the Craig Simpson for Paul Coffey trade. These days, Joseph is still in the Alberta capital, but now he's on a different team. Well, the prospect of Wilson and possibly Brian Burke in Toronto could very well be the recipe for success the Leafs have been searching for, but too many cooks in the MLSE kitchen in the past has left a sour taste in some people's mouths. Mike Toth has more in Behind the Mic. Well, I hope you enjoyed the Baltimore-Detroit game. We've actually got some bonus coverage for you now, a little extra baseball action between Pittsburgh and Colorado. So I'm Martine Gaillard, also coming up tonight on Connected. To golf now, and Vijay Singh repeated the word miserable 3 times in one sentence describing the weather during today's opening round of the British Open. But the team says that they aren't waving the white flag yet. Tomorrow, the Toronto skipper will try to light a fire under his team for the second half, something that Roy Halladay's comments at the All-Star break probably already did. Selig wants to know if Manny's agent, Scott Boras, called the Red Sox to say that his client would play hard for the rest of the season in Boston if the team dropped 2 $20 million option years from his deal. Ramirez wanted to be a free agent. Plus, Boras, who took over representing Ramirez after he had already signed his deal with the Red Sox, stood to make a lot of money. Now the Jets have Broadway Brett. Number 4 was welcomed to New York City at City Hall with an excited Mayor Michael Bloomberg giving him just about everything except the key to the city. Well, tonight the Jays began the most important series of their entire season. Toronto in Boston to face the Red Sox, the team they are chasing in the wild card race. 6.5 games separated the two teams entering tonight's action, but with 4 games this weekend alone, Toronto had a huge opportunity to make up some valuable ground. Of all people, Brett Favre. But with Favre facing pressure of his own, could this situation play in Castle's favor? It's just one of the hot stories heading into week 2 that Brad Fay explores with our NFL insider. Well, tests have proved Paul Pierce was not legally impaired during a police incident in Las Vegas over the weekend. Pierce, the NBA Finals MVP for the Celtics this past season, was pulled over on the Vegas Strip at 3 a.m. on Sunday. Well, Frank Thomas came off the DL this past Thursday just in time to make his return to Toronto with his Oakland A's taking on the Jays this week. The Big Hurt, though, not packing any hard feelings in his baggage for his trip as he visits the team he was released from this past April. Barry Davis has that story. This is Your Connection. I'm Martine Gaillard. Up front, is this the beginning of the NFL dream in Canada? Here, that John McDonald has been put on trade waivers, but reports that Vernon Wells is also being dangled is a whole other story. The move is actually not that uncommon, and many big-name players have gone through the same process. And while it's possible McDonald could end up with a new address, before fans of the Jays center fielders start panicking about J.P. Ricciardi trying to unload Wells, Peyton Manning will appear in his 7th MasterCard commercial debuting this Sunday during the Colts-Patriots game. The latest ad sealing Manning's status as the most marketable NFLer, topping even New England quarterback Tom Brady. According to marketing experts, he will stay on top even when his team isn't because Manning's good and he makes himself available. As Colts fans well know, right now his team is not on top, and it is in part due to Manning's struggles. With more on that, let's send it over to Brad Fay and our NFL insider. Well, with 31 points against the Nets last night, at 23 years of age, LeBron James became the youngest NBA player to hit 11,000 points, replacing Kobe Bryant. But while Kobe has continued to pour on the points with the Lakers, the only team he's ever known, LeBron may not have the same loyalty to his Cavs. James, a potential free agent in 2 years, says he wouldn't hesitate to leave Cleveland if a franchise offered him a better chance to win multiple championships. The Nets, Knicks, and Pistons are already clearing cap room for his stars, but also to see how their offense might benefit. The new Yankee Stadium has seen 125 home runs so far this season, the most of any park in the majors, and they would have loved nothing more than to rock old friend A.J. Burnett. Manny wouldn't address the issue with the media earlier today other than to say he's ready to move on and put the whole thing behind him. Let's see if the fans feel the same way as he steps up to the plate for the very first time. But if the massive turnout during his AAA stint in Albuquerque is any indication, fans are not exactly holding the failed drug test against him. Between steroids and the recent Roy Halladay trade talk, there hasn't been much to cheer about lately if you are a Jays fan or even a baseball fan. But we have a ray of light during these dark days. Just log on to sportsnet.ca for Jamie Campbell's blog as he writes about his top 10 refreshing stories in baseball this season. MMA fans have spent the past weekend trying to make sense of the reported deal the UFC made to Fedor Emelianenko and the fact he turned down what appeared to be an offer he can't refuse from Dana White. Now comes news today that Fedor has signed on with a rival organization. Judge Redfield T-Baum made the ruling today, leaving the door open for the Canadian billionaire to buy the bankrupt franchise and move it to Hamilton. They've hosted an event in Pennsylvania, let alone Philadelphia. The city is pumped, just like our Showdown Joe, who was there covering the big event. May have had some people believing they could go 18-0, but clearly the Eskimos were not part of that group, shutting down Anthony Calvillo and company and showing that they have some high-octane offense of their own. However, with just one loss, the Owls still have the best record at 4-1. Somehow it still finds a way to turn over 7 times, in fact, last game, which doesn't bode well for Andrus and the Argos. After yet another heartbreaker last night, thanks to a late-game collapse by the Bills and thrilling comeback by Patriots quarterback, while Mahalik has yet to arrive in the nation's capital, Chichu is expected to play in an exhibition game tomorrow night in Ottawa. The Sens were also in action tonight, although most of the big names sitting this one out. Back in 2002, the Calgary native broke his neck after a frightening crash, and then this past season, he sustained a severe concussion after yet another accident. But this 25-year-old is determined to turn his injuries into a life lesson, which he hopes will propel him to the podium in 2010. Sean McCormick has more in tonight's Road to Vancouver.
Where the streets have no name or where the players are no names in exhibition play.
Trying to make a name for themselves. Carey Price is hoping to shake what might have been just a sophomore jinx in a year that also saw the young goalie not only struggle on the ice, but through rumors that he was enjoying the Montreal nightlife a little too much off of it. As a result, the 22-year-old learned some valuable lessons and is more focused than ever entering the new season. Louis Jean reports from Montreal. Handed down to star striker Eduardo. UEFA had banned Eduardo for 2 matches for diving against Celtic in the second leg of qualifying, but thanks to winning that appeal, the suspension was overturned, and Eduardo was available for today's match, and boy, did Arsenal need him. We get a recap of today's Champions League action from Soccer Central's Jerry Dobson. Talking now, the Canadians were facing one of their biggest tests of the preseason tonight with a date against the defending Stanley Cup champs, but the Habs had a plan to offset the likes of Malkin and Crosby with a hot duo of their own. Scott Gomez and Brian Giunta were playing on the same line tonight, reuniting the pair that put up career numbers when they played together on the Devils. They may be 2 of the NFL's biggest stars, but other than their gigantic salaries, on the surface, it wouldn't appear that Tom Brady and Terrell Owens have a lot in common. But even though their personalities and desire for the spotlight couldn't be more different, Mike Toth has noticed a glaring similarity. He has more. Well, it is a cold night in Chicago for tonight's Saints-Bears game. Fitting weather, as the team that loses this game could be left out in the cold when it comes to the playoffs. The 2 7-6 teams desperately needing a victory to keep their postseason hopes alive. Toronto traveling the short distance down the QEW on game day instead of the normal day before. One of the reasons? The Leafs have their Christmas party tonight. But rumors are surfacing that the Dallas receiver is jealous of Tony Romo's friendship with tight end Jason Witten. Hey everybody, I'm Martine Gaillard. I'm a Weather Network alumni. I started working in 1992. It was my very first television job right out of school and spent 7 years. My last year was 1999, so hard to believe. I started out delivering the forecast at the Weather Wall, came to host the Toronto Morning Show, and then soon after that was reporting, covering things like floods, the tornadoes that happened in Ontario, and also covered things like nudist colonies and how the sun affects people without their clothes on. You should get the tape from that one. Since then, I'm now working in sports. That's my passion. I host a show on Rogers Sportsnet called Sportsnet Connected, Monday to Friday with Sean McCormick. But it's funny, I've been in sports now, gosh, it's been probably close to 10 years, and I still have people stopping me on the street and say, I remember you from your days at the Weather Network. I just wanted to say happy anniversary to everyone, all my old friends at the Weather Network. Great 20 years so far. I wish you 20 great more. The offspring of one of the legendary Hanson brothers will bring a bit of excitement. Toronto signing Christian Hanson to a 2-year entry-level contract. Hanson, whose dad Dave is one of the famous Hanson brothers from the movie Slapshot, is expected to join the team for practice. Sevi Ballesteros is hoping a 4th round of chemotherapy will be the ace in the hole he needs to beat a malignant brain tumor. The Spanish golf great speaking to a Spanish newspaper in his first interview since being diagnosed with cancer 6 months ago. Appearing frail in photos taken after having 4 cancer surgeries and having lost more than 30 pounds. And who needs tickets? Sportsnet got its hand on a pair for the preseason game, but we're only holding them for a lucky winner. You can log on to sportsnet.ca and tell us in 25 words or less where the Leafs will finish in the standings this year, and the tickets could be yours. That is, if Sean doesn't grab them away from me first.
Price is no.
1 year ago, though, this was unthinkable, with Percy missing more than half the season due to a broken arm. It's been quite a comeback season for the lefty, who has dominated for the Syracuse Chiefs since opening day.